Section 3 on factoring. I'm going to start with Section 3B first. The reason I'm going to start with Section 3B first is we want to make sure we understand what factoring by grouping is, and then we're going to use that process throughout the rest of the lesson. So factoring by grouping is when you have four terms and you're going to group them together, and you would do it by first two terms and then the second two terms. The first two terms you say, what do they have in common? In this case, both terms are divisible by a 3, and both terms have an x squared. So we're factoring out the greatest common factor. And if we divide each of those by 3x squared, we will get 2x for the first one and just a plus 1 for the second, because 3x squared divided by 3x squared is 1. In the second two terms, notice there's nothing in common, but we have to factor something out. So if there's nothing in common, we'll just take a plus 1, because that doesn't change anything. And if you factor out a 1, you're just left with what it was. Our point in doing this is to get two different pieces, after having something factored out, become the same thing. And when they're the same thing, you know you've done that right. So if you were to take out or factor out what they have in common, in this case now a 2x plus 1, it will be multiplied by what's left. And that is 3x squared and plus 1. And that is factored. So a couple comments here. When you factor something out, it's multiplied by what's left. So when you factor out our last binomial here, it is times what's left. And that is finished. If we look at a different question, number 20 right here, same process. Say, what do they have? What do the first two have in common? They both have an n squared in common. They are not divisible by any number, so there's nothing there we can take out. But we do know that they both have n squared. And if I divide each of those by n squared, there's only one n left here, and I have a minus 2 left when I divide that by n squared. In the second one, the second pair, these are divisible by 2, so I'm going to take that out. But food for thought, if this front term is negative, we're going to want to factor out a negative with it. So I'm going to factor out not just a 2, but a negative 2. And if you divide negative 2n by negative 2, you get a positive n. When you divide 4 by negative 2, you get a negative 2. Now, if we hadn't taken the negative out, I'd end up with negative n plus 2, which is not the same as this. So that's our goal, to get them to be the same. By taking out a negative, I get the same thing. So I have n minus 2 in common, so I factor that out, and it's multiplied by what's left, and that would be n squared minus 2. And that is factored.